You are listening or watching the Old Tube Radio Network.
How do you do, ladies and gentlemen?
Greetings to you.
Wherever you are, for music and the latest news from home and from afar, the station for you is
OTR, Old Tube Radio.
The station for you is
OTR.
The station for you is OTR, especially if you enjoy listening to, talking on, or collecting the vintage 11-meter radios with the vacuum tubes produced from 1958 to 1978. That's what we do here at the Old Tube Radio Network. Listen for our collectors to stop by on frequency 27085, channel 11 here in the Central Valley of California and say hello, radio. OTR listening.
135, 135.
And we've got 135 and 45. Paul, head up into the green room. We'll see if we can hear you in just a little bit. That radio is a bit weaker than normal, but we will give it a try. In the meantime, while you're up there with the cookies and lemonade, SWL 135, Mr. Green Arrow. Cliff is at the microphonium. Glad to have you aboard and in the radio room tonight. We'll go over to you and find out what you're checking in. Over.
Thank you, Dennis. SWL 135 here on the Johnson Viking Messenger 1. I think it's the one. It's the silver-faced one. This is the original mic. I'm not sure what it is. I think they call it the coffin mic. It's a dark gray plastic handheld mic. The radio has E number of channels, A, B, C, D, and E. I'm on channel C, which I've designated as channel 11 because that was the best place to put the crystals.
Yeah, I have one of those. I've actually tried to do the net on it a couple of times. But channel 11 it comes loose in the socket when someone, as you know, on that receiver, when someone is really close by and keys the microphonium with loud audio, the whole radio just rattles, and it rattles the crystal out of the socket, or the contacts out. So I have a problem that way. Starting with the picture, if you're watching the video tonight, with sort of a campy, corny ad for the Messenger radio with, I guess that's a business. They're showing that you can use it for business or something. We'll show another picture of the radio, but we'll use the very nice audio that Cliff is providing with his, and these radios always have great sounding audio without doing much to them at all. This is E.F. Johnson's first venture into the 11-meter Class D, as at this time they were building some great boat anchor transmitters. It did a heck of a lot more than 5 watts DC input, but they had to throttle it down. It is sounding very nice. I know you will perhaps check out the archives if you can, but give us another transmission.
Okay, here goes another transmission. The red light is lighting up, indicating that I am transmitting, but it isn't fluctuating very much. So I'm not sure how the audio actually is. I can tell you at some point I'm probably going to have to get another microphone on this thing. The plastic is cracking. It's starting to come apart. So at some point in the future, I think I may have to put another mic on it.
I was looking and listening, looking at the S meter. I don't see a lot of forward movement, which is interesting because I hear very nice audio, very loud and good fidelity. Doesn't sound restricted at all. I don't see a lot of, I would see maybe some more wiggle meter, if you will. So I don't think your light is lying to you. It definitely has audio, but if I remember correctly on mine, and I never ran it with a power, an amplified microphone, phonium, that the light didn't blink all that much. It's got the two kind of jeweled lights. I think one is I'll call it a pilot light, right? If you turn it on, that comes on. The other one will actually wink at you a little bit when you introduce audio over.
Yeah, when you turn it on, there's an amber, jeweled, faceted, whatever light that comes on, and it stays on. The red light above it does not, as long as you're receiving. But when you transmit, that red light comes on, and it... Oh, okay, if I whistle, it does fluctuate a little bit more, but yeah, it's not fluctuating too much with my audio. And I think a helicopter is landing in my yard.
I heard something coming down. Hopefully it's not the police helicopter. That's been hanging out in my neighborhood of late with the searchlight and the little megaphone saying, "Come out with your hands up." And it's usually they want bozo control, but maybe they're in your neighborhood tonight, so look for the Clownmobile. The E.F. Johnson Messenger, originally selling for, I'm showing an original price at about $135, which would be about right. There were more expensive, there were less expensive radios. What was the receive on this? I remember if someone was close by on an adjacent channel, sometimes it sounded like they were right on the channel you were on, but the transmitter sounds great. Sometimes, as you mentioned, called the white face, even though it's not quite white, it's more of a silver brushed aluminum or whatever you want. And sometimes called here on this venue the loaf of bread radio. Just, I guess from the size, it looks like a good piece of Wonder Bread. Remember, it helps build strong bodies how many ways? Anyway, give us another transmission. It's good to hear you on, Cliff. This is a good radio. You will enjoy, if you listen to the archives, the audio. So I'm not sure you have to do much to it, if anything, except to put it back in the archive, or the arsenal there, and check it in more often. Over.
Okay, well, I'll remember that. And yes, it does strongly resemble a loaf of bread or a bread box or... I don't know, but this bread box has a Viking on it, and that's cool. But yeah, thanks for letting me check it in. I've been so busy, sorry I haven't checked in more often, but I will now that the weather's nicer. I'll get out. I am out here in the CB Cabana out in the backyard, and I'll get out here more. I will.
Good deal. And yes, it has the Viking head in the upper left-hand corner of the radio, which was Johnson's logo. It may have a J in there too, but that was the Johnson logo. I don't have any of the boat anchor. I wish I did. I wish I had one of their Rangers or the Viking. Was it Viking? There are other, and those early radios did have 11 meters. Some of the early radios had 11 meters on them before it was a Class D. And a lot of people who are familiar with Skipland can hear some of this. Some of the guys are still running the big Johnsons, are on the 6146 tubes and the like. Radio number one, getting us started off at 8:40 is the time I logged it in here at OTR Control. Mr. Green Arrow on the Messenger, E.F. Johnson Messenger. Thanks for bringing it by, Cliff, and doing a good job.
Yeah, thanks for letting me check it in, and hopefully I'll catch you next week. See ya.
All right, we should be here. I wanted to explain, and we're coming up to 45 with a radio check-in. And for those watching the video, also I want to say hello to SWL13. Let me go to the big board here, the SWL list, and give Mike, Mr. Cobra, a check-in. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate you. Keep me honest. Keep me looking at the board here to make sure I get everybody checked in the right way. And I was at an event, a fundraising event this afternoon for the radio station where I work, the FM radio station. That's why I'm still dressed in the promotional garb here. I wish I had an Old Tube Radio t-shirt, but I do not. I actually had some shirts that we made over probably 30 years ago, which somewhere around here. Maybe I'll do that one of these weeks, but that's the radio station logo. So I thought it's working and it's comfortable. So we'll leave it going. 13 is checked in. Let's head over to SWL 45 and Paul. The receive on my end is not as good, so I'm going to assume that maybe my antenna should be a bit higher. But give us a couple of transmissions. We'll see what we can do. You are radio number 2. Over. All right, I was adjusting the RF gain. Sometimes I turn it, I squelch things out a little bit with the RF gain to keep our digital listeners from going nuts hearing the noise level again. Give me the model of radio on which you are transmitting again, over. All right, General Radio Telephone MC12, and I am thinking, and maybe you have a watt meter on that thing, that it is, for the signal I'm getting, it's got to be a watt or less. If you are seeing more than that, my guess is we might have a bad coax jumper somewhere, because I'm just not used to. Oops, that's the wrong radio. I went to a vibration service 12, but I do believe you were on the master control 12. And there it is. I will pop it up on the video. It's over at oldtuberadio.net, and that's actually one of Paul's collection. It could even be the radio on which he is talking and receiving. So back to you, SWL 45. Okay, it's just the audio is there. The audio is in. It's just that it's in my noise level. It's got plenty of audio, but I've got about an S7 to S8 noise level, and that is where I'm picking up the signal tonight. On your, I should say Super, on your Super MC12, the final. If you don't count the MC100, which we actually have had checked in, which was more of a prototype than anything else. The MC12, a lot like the Super MC11A. General Radio Telephone was sold to the Skyhawk Antenna Company in 1972, and they upgraded the MC12 with a much larger and more powerful final audio tube, but they didn't grant, the FCC didn't grant type acceptance for that radio, so in theory, it was the last one they manufactured for sale to the general public. Over to you, Paul. Again, we're listening. It's a nice-looking radio. I wish we could hear it a little bit better, over. All right, thanks. I again apologize if I had my antenna up where it should be. I think I would have more of you and less of the noise. But typically from the signals you put in, I'm just not quite sure why that one is down far, whether it's an issue on my end or perhaps it's just a low output, or where that happens to be on the coax switch position or something. There's a jumper or something going on. That's not quite right. General Radio Telephone Super MC12. My guess is they didn't make that many and probably didn't sell that many, but they are around, and it is if we could hear it better, it is a talker, and you can tell just from it being way down the noise, we're hearing the audio, and that's what's helping us out here. You are listening to the Old Tube Radio Network, real radios glowing in the dark, when we can get them checking in tonight here on a Memorial Day weekend. A lot of people out at the barbecue, visiting relatives, but taking a little time out to share with us their radios. We're looking for radio number 3.
25.
Hello, Jerry, SWL 25. I'm marking you down here on the big list. For some reason, I pulled it out of the stack. It's on yellow paper tonight. Sort of matches my shirt here tonight, and that's the only one like that. I have no idea why that's like that. But you are Radio 3, and we are listening over.
Okay, and Paul, I heard every word you said, but he was not real strong. But anyway, speaking of General Radio Telephone, this is the MC5 from downtown Burbank, California, the General Radio Telephone MC5. And anyway, it seems to be behaving tonight. I'll put it that way. So back to you, Dennis.
It's behaving nicely. It looks like it wants to be on our list of lists, which it is for Radio 3. And in honor of the MC12, the Super MC12, let's use a photo from the collection of SWL45, one of Paul's radios, and this is his MC5. So we'll put that up for the video, but be using the audio from your radio. Over to you.
Okay. Well, anyway, it's kind of a cool little radio, compact, heavy little sucker. We got the, obviously, if you got a picture up on it, you see the rack mount, the handles for the rack mount, and what do we have? Eight channel crystal controlled transmit. But the only one I care about is channel 11, 27085, and that's where you are. So anyway, you've got the meter in the middle and the speaker in the front, and everything seems to be working. So anyway, back to you, Dennis.
Doing a good job. 1962, 1963, sort of the middle of their, beginning the middle of their production run. Very popular radio, maybe their best-selling radio, and only 7 tubes. This is all done with 7 6-volt tubes. This is before they got together there in beautiful downtown Burbank on the kitchen table and started swapping things out and looking the ECL 800s, trying to get the really loud radios in that Super Series, although there's nothing wrong with an MC5, that's for sure. There's a schematic for that radio if anyone's interested over at oldtuberadio.com. The original price, just under $200. Well worth it. Give us another transmission.
Okay. Anyway, it does have an option here on the front panel, in between the receive and the transmit. Down on the bottom, looks like a crystal jack, and you can actually put in your private crystal and talk to your buddies that may have that same private crystal installed. So anyway, Dennis, and by the way, I will give you the tone alert and after this transmission.
Powerful signal and powerful audio from that tone alert, working just the way it should have when it was brand new out of the box. With the tone signal, thanks to the FCC, that was the last general radio telephone model to have the tone signal. In the next model up, that's the MC6, it was replaced with the bullhorn. So if you are looking at your general radio telephone MC series right now and you see the bullhorn, you know that it's not an MC5 for sure. It's a model after that in 1963 or 64, the MC6. Or I don't know if a 7 had that or not, but it certainly wasn't on the tone alert wasn't on the 6 anymore. Sounding good. It came with the big Electro Voice mic, which is what we're showing. And as always, the Generals had really nice audio out of the box. You really didn't need to amplify the audio at all. Thanks for the transmission and the tone. Over.
All right, Dennis, thanks for checking the radio in, and thanks for my friends that helped me get it back on air, because it was this has been a work in progress, and we finally got it at least to where it's on the air. So anyway, thank you, Dennis, and we'll see if we can check something else in. Thank you.
All right, we are here until 10 o'clock, at least 10 o'clock this evening for your dining, dancing, and old tube radio pleasure. I want to say hello to the mighty Juliet Whiskey. Is that right? Yeah, John. Waving a hand from the corn patch, as he often does. Back in the day, KJG 4755, I was KEO 8492. I'm not sure if the calls were regional. The first 3 letters, like in amateur radio, if they were just, at the time you got it, regardless of where you might be, you'd be going in order. Or if they did the east-west Mississippi things, and certain calls you could tell were issued for certain areas. Also, the Timtron out there waving a hand and saying good evening to everyone on the net. And yeah, this is the 88.1 FM. That is on the very left end of your radio dial in the commercial and the non-commercial section, listener sponsored, which is always fun. You have a lot more fun in broadcasting if you don't have a sales department and you don't have a news department. The only problem is it's a lot more work because you become the sales department when you ask for donations, which we have never done here at the Old Tube Radio Network. We are self-supporting, and our tube radio operators spend tons of money, tons of money on their radios to keep things going. Maybe not. So back in 30 years ago, before eBay, finding something for $10 or $15 at a yard sale was pretty easy. Now finding something for $10 or $15 is pretty much non-existent. So I don't know. I hope that's not due to us. We tried to keep the prices down here. Speaking of which, it is near the top of the hour. The jingle singers are trying to get my attention over in the other studio. Looks like they are ready. So here we go. And what radio? We're looking for radio number 4, but first.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you. Wherever you are, your favorite spot on the dial by far is known to you as
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network.
the station for you is
OTR.
OTR listening?
Break OTR.
There is a big signal right there. Break OTR. I know that guy. Hello, Phil.
Well, hello, Dennis. I just for an FYI, I did look the listing up for that courier that you'd mentioned in the beginning. What's up for sale is a courier 1M, and while somebody has added the second channel select knob to get 23 channels, it's not the same as what I have. What I have is the Courier 1A75, and the modifications are factory. The what's listed on eBay, if you look at the picture carefully, somebody took a very much similar knob and put some paper around it and wrote in the channel numbers. Also, my radio has 4 indicator lights to the right of the speaker, and they light up as you turn the selector that is the preset receive preset channels 1 through 4. So anyway, just an FYI.
Okay, good. Thanks for doing that. Looking that up. As if I recall, we don't actually have a photo of your radio in the database. Maybe it's over. I thought we did, but maybe it's over on the Facebook page. You remember someone taking a picture or loading a picture somewhere of that?
Yeah, it's on the Facebook page, and if you take a look at the photo that's there of my radio, the lettering or the numbering on the second dial is factory. That and the numbering for the 4 indicator lights is part of the stenciled silk screen type graphics of the faceplate. So what I have was done in factory rather than a homebrew. Over.
Okay, and I remember you mentioning that. I found the shot from Facebook, so I'm going to put that up at oldtuberadio.net. And it's exactly as you described. It's got the 4 lights. It almost looks like they're, 1, 2, 3, 4. They actually have numbers on them. And what I'll do is, for those watching the video, because some of you may have been following, and I think it was on Crazy Bob's site where they were showing the picture and they had the eBay link. So let me put it up here if anybody wants to do a comparison. This is the radio that, I don't have the aspect ratio is a little bit wrong, so let me see if I can dial it in the window here. But this is the radio that Phil has, and the one he just described. This is the shot of his radio, and he has given us some differences from the one on eBay. So would you guess the one on eBay is sort of a prototype, or someone just trying to fix to make it look like this? I don't know. That's interesting.
Well, it's my guess that it was somebody's homebrew attempt, and probably successful. I have no way of knowing to the contrary. To add the additional channels, it's certainly, if you look at the two pictures, the one that I have, like I said, it's the four lights are numbered 1 through 4, and you can see that it's stenciled into the part of the graphics of the faceplate. It wasn't something that was added later. And if you notice the 12 through 23 channel select knob, it also, the numbering is it was made that way. It wasn't adapted. If I'm saying it right, over.
You know, I understand what you're saying there. So, all right, interesting. Maybe unless that was the first prototype where they were, you know, on the kitchen table pasting it together and say, yeah, this is what we want to do, and then manufactured. So, hard to say. Interesting how these early radios changed and evolved. It's like coins. Early coins, when they were minting coins, they would make mistakes, and the dies would, certain things would happen to the dies, and they double punch things, and you really get these very rare and actually very expensive 10 of a kind, 100 of a kind, because they don't know. They don't know how many existed, and people pop up with them. So maybe radios were like that. It's like, how many of these did they make before they decided to do the other thing they were supposed to do? Pretty cool and nice stuff, and this is the radio that you have. And we were talking about a similar Courier that's up on eBay right now. I guess it's still there because Phil pulled up the picture. And while I have you online, do you recall where you got your Courier? Was it an eBay purchase, or did you rummage through Uncle Fred's attic and it fell on your head?
No, it was an eBay purchase, and if I recall correctly, I didn't even have to give arms or legs for it. It was, if I recall, relatively reasonable. The other difference is this is a different model number. Mine is a 1A75, and I don't know if that came before, if that preceded the Courier 1M or not. The Courier 1M has a light above the receive tuning dial, and the A75 does not. I don't know which model came first, but there you go. There you have it. Thanks, Dennis. Back to OTR.
All right, thanks, Phil. Always like the history lessons and things that we learn either by hook, crook, or our digital listeners chiming in, or someone of knowledgeable note keying down or keying up and saying, this is what I know. So thanks, Phil. You're listening to the Old Tube Radio Network. Real Radio is glowing in the dark. We are here in Central California doing just what you're listening to here. How it might have sounded back in 1962 or 1964 when these radios were brand new, even though it's the 21st century, and kind of picking the brains of our knowledgeable shortwave listeners and tube radio operators. We are looking for radio number 4.
45.
Oh, man. Paul, you are loud now. Hello, radio.
I got it fixed. Thanks for telling me about it. I look at my meter, so I can sure tell the difference now on the thing. This is what an MC-12 should sound like. Back to you.
Oh, boy, what a difference. And I'm glad I'm hearing it the way it should, because I knew that your audio was really nice because the signal was way down. I have no idea how much RF was actually, what do they call it, affected radiated power, how much was actually coming out of your antenna, but I could tell that the audio was nice because that was the only reason that I was tearing you. Take another transmission. This is for those who've been listening for the top of the net here. This was our number 2 radio at 850. If you want to go back and check. And Paul has found either the magic switch or the bad coax jumper or something, and it is alive. Over.
You know, with this mess over here, Dennis, you're liable to find anything. I tell you, I got wires going that I forgot where they went to. So, you know, when you're dealing with this whole stuff, you kind of got a mess. myself. I'm not saying the radios are a mess, not at all. No, this is a quality radio. This thing should sound good. Like I say, this belonged to Bob Millham. We had a gigantic, beautiful collection down in San Diego, and I got this from his wife. Bob was a great guy. Anyway, so I'm glad to hear it. Now I can hear it on the archives and see what it sounds like when it's bad and when it's good. Thanks, Jack.
Sounding great. Really nice, strong audio, and like the general radio telephones do, has good fidelity, good low end, and good high end. I brought the picture back up of the Super MC12 out there on the picnic bench or whatever it is. With, I think you said a lot of those trees are are no longer around. Before our California drought and the beetles, the bark beetles, doing bad things. At least the radio is still around and kicking. Thanks, Paul.
You're very welcome. You knew that this belonged to number one, the radio, the picture of number one. Did you get that?
Yes. Okay, I got it this time.
Okay, thanks. I just wanted to put that in. Thanks a million. Sounds great, Paul.
What a difference, huh?
Well, yeah, it's night and day. And there's 25 when you have a minute.
And I have a minute. I think you're going to be Radio 4. We are trying to figure out who's going to be Radio 4, and I think we have a winner, as they used to say. Mark you in at 9:09. Also want to say hello to Steve, digital listener Steve, checking in for Bob in Oxford, Ohio, and he's out there in Westchester, Ohio. So the Ohio contingent is doing quite nicely tonight here on the Old Tube Radio Network, home of the Dayton Hamfest. Heard Ken on the net. Jerry, who's about to check in his radio, runs one of the net controllers on our 10-meter net. And one of the stations checking in was our friend Ken, who was at Dayton at one of the people in the M Squared booth. M Squared Antennas right out of here in Fresno. Mike Stahl, owner-operator of M Squared. Great guy. Radio 4, let's do it. Over to you.
Well, Dennis, I was kind of hoping to spend some time in the green room because that recliner is very comfortable, plus you have a stock full of beer in the ditch where the Eagle figure hang out. So anyway, I was kind of hoping to hang out there, but I guess that's not the case tonight, so that's okay. Anyway, yeah, 25 checking in on the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB two-piece radio on the original non-powered Banana mic. And boy, I don't know what else to say other than everything on the air light is on, and everything seems to be working. And I hope you can hear me. Anyway, back to you, Dennis.
I can hear you just fine here at Net Control. They're hearing you on the monitor speakers over in the other room. The jingle singers and Mr. Announcer and the band, the orchestra, all stay over there. They're not allowed in the green room. That's why all the beer is in there. And no doubt they are hearing you quite nicely in Ohio and other areas as well. oldtuberadio.net. And they might be hearing you 10 years from now if we keep the video in the archives up long enough. Showing a picture, thanks to SWL 135 for the fine photo here of a Mark III radio. And we'll go back to Jerry for some fine audio on the Mark III.
Yeah, thanks, Dennis. Anyway, it's kind of a cool radio. It has a spot button. And the spot button, what it does is it kind of calibrates or sets everything from the transmitter to the receiver and gets everything kind of on the same frequency. And that way, you're spotted. So anyway, that's a cool thing about this radio. And like I said, it's sideband or two, so you can go upper sideband, lower sideband, which we have tried. We actually checked this radio in a long time ago when Kevin used to host the 11-meter sideband net on Friday nights, and anyway, it was kind of fun to get everybody dialed in because but anyway, we got close enough, you know, and that.
Audio.
Thanks for checking it in, Dennis, and the Golden Eagle Mark III SSB, back to you.
And certainly thanks for bringing it by. Yes, the Friday night, they used to call it decompression net because it was on Friday nights and everybody was kind of winding down for the weekend. Got some great check-ins off of that. Everybody who's tried to run or has run or tried to run a Browning Eagle of any sort that has sideband on, I guess there were only a few, starting with the Mark II with the adapter on sideband. Raise your hand, and you know the frustration, what Jerry's talking about, trying to get the transmitter and the receiver. Sometimes that's a good thing, too, having both separate. You can get right on the other station's frequency so that someone listening in is hearing both stations on frequency because your transmit and receiver are separated. The receiver, of course, doesn't have the click-stop channel selector. It's variable, so you have to do the spot switch Jerry was talking about to get the transmitter to send that little low-level signal into the receiver, and then dial your receiver in to max out the S meter. We're getting right on frequency, but yeah, the ping sounds almost like you're throwing dishes into the sink or something. It was interesting. Radio 4, the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB. Thank you, Jerry. It's doing a good job, AM sideband and everywhere else.
Hey, thanks, Dennis, for checking it in. And boy, if you need some help raising that antenna or putting a new one up, let me know. I'm on standby now. So, and both knees are working great. Actually played a round of golf a week ago, and so we're up and going. So any way I can help you out, man, let me know. Anyway, back to you, Dennis, and thanks for checking it out.
All right, yeah, I thought I might have had a tree climber here last week that was going to brave the cedar tree in the front, but that didn't work out. And then my IMAX took a crash, and it fractured the fiberglass part on the bottom. So I actually think I'm going to have to get a new antenna if I want to do something like that, or do it yet another way. We will find out. That's one of the many projects on the 2008 to-do list. We are the Old Tube Radio Network. It is a holiday weekend for Memorial Day. We are honoring our veterans and checking in radios. Hello, radio. Hello, Paul. Over.
And back again, Dennis, with my Demco satellite base station.
Did I hear correctly? Demco?
That's the Demco satellite base station.
All right, boy, that's got some mellow audio. Let me find if we have indeed a photo for the Demco satellite base station. What? No image available. How can that be? Well, I'll find... I've got a receiver. Wait a minute. Demco satellite receiver? No. Demco satellite transmitter. How can that be? I'll work on that. Well, let's go back to you. You are Radio 5. I'm going to log you in at 9:18. JT was listening in earlier. Whenever we get a Demco radio, he has the special Demco bell that is probably going to be ringing here shortly. So over to you.
Okay. Well, you had a picture of this last week up in O'Connell. And it's definitely a Demco satellite base station. And this sort of says it on your web. Anyway, this is the same radio. I tuned it down a little bit, maybe quiet it up. I want to hear it again before I put it away for probably 6 months. This is my second time, which I very seldom check in a radio twice in a row like this. But I couldn't resist it. I love this radio. Back to you.
Okay, I found the photo. Apparently there's two Demcos, and one of them, when it accesses, it doesn't come up with the picture. And I found the second one, and it does, and it is indeed the Demco satellite base station from your station, SWL 45. That is a freight train and a half there, with the super special in the centerpiece. If you're looking at the video or checking us out at oldtuberadio.net, the centerpiece, which is a speaker that I believe has the Demco modulator built in, meaning you've got to rotate some knobs there to either turn it on or turn it up. Nice mellow audio. Are you? I see a D104 in the picture. Is that the microphone that's into the Demco or modulator?
That's correct. That's the stock microphone. Stock lollipop, they call them. It's D104 non-amplified microphone.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be amplified because your modulator, your 2.2 modulator, is doing that for you and probably doing it a little bit better than the circuitry and the amplified version of that microphone could do. When you are... There are just so many lights on that radio. Do you have to have a 3x5 card in front of you with cheat? I know I would with cheat notes on how to get that thing started.
Really, to tell you what, the lights are well lit by the little light above it, and right below it does exactly what it is: fine tune, tone, volume, antenna, selector, plate. So all you do is change that, just reach down and turn some of the knobs, whatever you want. You fine-tune, you can tune your voice in, it's real good. This thing has got the best receive I think on any of my radios. Really, even my Brownies, I shouldn't brag that way, but it's really good. So it's pretty self-explanatory once you get in front of it and you can see it. You can't see in the picture all the writing on the thing, but it makes it fairly easy back to you.
Good deal. And I'm assuming that the centerpiece, at least the way it showed lined up in the photo, is actually a speaker as well. That's a nice size speaker, so that probably helps with the receive, making it sound good.
I'll tell you what, I'm sure it does. It's a big speaker on the thing, like you said, right in the middle there. And of course you got your selector switch in there to go either in or out on the thing and cut out everything on it. But it's lights on the middle of it, not on top of it. But they're still lit up really well. So it's so interesting. Anyway, back to you, Dennis.
Back to me in the studio. I wanted to put a photo up. SWL 83JT from South Carolina has procured this bell. Let me make sure I got it in the frame here. Clear as a bell at midnight is the Demco radio. This is from Demco Radio Products. 1928, 29, 1930, from Kansas City, Missouri, I believe. Not quite sure if it was the Demco by command, but they built broadcast receivers. But it's cool, and whenever we get a Demco radio, and we don't get that many, we consider them, yes, a bell ringer. So JT, it is, if you are still listening, or whenever you see or hear the net here tonight, please ring the bell for us here at the Old Tube Radio Network. Take another transmission, Paul. I know you said that radio is probably going to go back under the covers for a while, but we're glad that you've got it fired up. It sounds great, and you'll be able to hear it on the archives. It's Radio 5, the Demco satellite base station. Back to you.
Yeah, okay. Well, the picture shows where it goes. It's right in the front room, and the wife doesn't mind me having it in there. It goes right in the front room on my desk here, and my TV watches it. So it'll be in there for a few months from now on. Thanks to man for checking it in, Dennis. Appreciate it very much.
All right, thanks for bringing it by. The Old Tube Radio Network, real radios glowing in the dark, and even the jingle singers enjoying a Demco.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you. Wherever you are, the friendliest station for you by far is known to all as
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network.
the station for you is
OTR.
Listening for Radio 6. You're listening to the Old Tube Radio Network. We are looking for Radio 6. Will there be skip conditions tonight? We were being heard in Colorado earlier this evening. Memorial Day weekend, the barbecues are being fired up. What's the hottest temperature tube radio that you have? Maybe you can get that porterhouse steak wrapped up in some aluminum foil, turn on the radio and set it on top there. Cook that steak while you check in. It'd be a good excuse to get into the radio room, cooking the steaks. OTR listening. Especially if you like medium rare, I would suppose. That radio sounds like it's not medium rare. Maybe well done. We'll find out. Radio 6, perhaps. Hello, Paul.
Yeah, let's get another one here. I think a lot of people out of town tonight will probably nobody's not thinking it's going to get me up, but maybe they will. Harvey should be in there pretty soon. That makes it interesting. Anyway, I want to get with my Polycom camera. That's going to start with that.
All right, we'll go to the Polycom section of the file drawer here. Yeah, a lot of people that have checked in have said they have guests or entertaining or working the barbecue, and we understand that. And we always appreciate people running into the radio room to say hello to us. You are, let's see, did you say it was the Polycom N as in November?
That's correct.
All right, I think I've got the PCN here. Interesting. There's a lot of, at least the one we're showing has a lot of white knobs. I don't know if that's original issue or not, or what you have on your radio. We'll go back to you and find out.
My knobs are not white. They're black. We've got everything off white. So the stuff that's but this phone is still in the 908. That's going to be radio too, so. Listen here, I don't see anything bad on my radio here. It didn't take many of them to go with it. Decided to put it on there. But it's got 8 dials, and same thing up the right on the left-hand side. Some people will have modulation. They'll get a modulation about it and thing, and the big light in the middle on the top. You got the radio there, that's it. That's my radio. Okay, we got it. I'm running that station, you guys got it. You see on the left stereo on the player, microphone. Yeah, look at that. Hey, Bob, that's really big by brother. Anyway, back to you, Bill.
Oop, you just caught me. I was going to give you a frequency check there, make sure I was on your frequency. Yeah, thanks for mentioning it was the 8 channel. I updated the photo and is exactly as you described. I'm looking at the YouTube video. Almost looks like it's a wood panel front, but I see that actually it's not. Just more of a, I want to say a copper tone or an orangish color, but I almost thought it was a wood grain front on there. I thought that would be pretty fancy for a radio of the day. Also looks like there's a spot. I'm looking under the speaker. I'm trying to read it. Well, it says call sign. So I'm assuming they gave you a little a spot, sort of like they do now with the Ziploc bags, where you can write that you've got the carrot souffle that you're going to freeze in the bag, that you could write on the front of the radio there, put your radio call sign in. I'm curious, does yours have a call sign written in over?
That doesn't have anything on it. I'm kind of glad. The file happens, so we can go in there just fine, right? No one's written anything in there. Kind of messed it up, it's clear. And I think I'll leave it like it is.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it was at my radio. Just the historic factor of having an old call in there would be kind of cool, but it messes the radio. I just noticed it says it's your radio from SWL 45, so it doesn't have a call. I guess I could have answered my own question had I read my subtitle there. The Polytronics Polycom PCN, similar to the Polycom N, but with 8 channels. I wonder how much headache that caused them to get those extra 4 channels and the extra dial selector in there. The audio is good. Signal isn't quite as strong as some of your other radios tonight, but it is beaconing through just fine. I don't have any other information on the radio. I was looking to see if I get a manufacturer date, but I don't find one. So I imagine that's probably early 60s, of course, as it doesn't have the S meter or a full 23-channel complement. But doing a good job here for Radio 6. We'll go back to you for a transmission. Always enjoy the Polycoms.
Yeah, I like the radios so well. I wish I had some of the newer radios that all the cities that I think were pretty radios. Anyway, this thing is manufactured in 1963. So it goes on the track. Yeah, and nothing to it. It's got a stop, Polytronics maximum on it. It's big everything. I think you said one time you could use it for a flood if you had to. Anyway, it came out off of McCarry, all 1960s, with the picture and a write-up on it. It's very nice. Yeah, I like it too. It's also got that new spare handle. You see right up the spare of the light there. That's runs on out. It's really handy, though. It's a good idea. It's kind of real heavy-duty handle. It's got a house to go in there, which I like. One kind of things and everything on the thing. Thanks for doing that.
Thanks for bringing it by. Did a quick frequency check moments ago, and you are at 85.5. So right in the frequency window with the Polytronics Polycom N, the 8-channel version. Thanks for bringing it by on the Old Tube Radio Network. And saying hello from his Radio Shack, the mighty KUH. Hello, Brian. Hopefully there's some good DX or QSOs going on the other bands tonight. A little bit slow here on a holiday weekend for the Old Tube Radio Network. We're looking for radio number 7. The break OTR, go ahead, please.
50 checking in. Better late than never, I guess.
Yeah, I remember. I can't remember the I'll have to go back and listen to the archives because actually made an SWL 50 comment. A good one. I mean, something nice. During the roll call. And then you weren't there. Now I don't remember what it was I said, but you are there now. So whatever I said, here's the guy. Here's the guy I said it about. SWL 50, Mark, you are sounding good. And since you are actually late, we're going to grab you for a moment, and you will also be Radio 7, because it has that distinctive sound. Tell us in 25 words or less what's connected to the microphonium.
Okay, how about this? Old Gold Bird. Anyway. Gold Eagle Mark III. Stock banana ram microphone. No. That. So tasty.
Browning Golden Eagle Mark III, sounding good. Is that the AM or the SSB version?
The latter, sir.
All right, SSB. I'll get that marked down, and that will go to our total, our tally of the manufacturers checking in tonight when we add everything up. As always, sounding good on the Old Tube Radio Network. Thanks for stopping by.
All righty, have a good one. Thanks.
And then the jingle singers said,
You're listening in the latest style at
27.085 megahertz, Channel 11 Old Tube Radio,
in wonderful
Fresno, California.
and if I didn't do it earlier from Facebook, we'll get a check-in for SWL 79, Mr. DC. Got you accounted for and checked in from Facebook. Thank you. Let's put up some Saturday wallpaper here. QSL cards. That's something I never did. I never had. I had it for amateur radio, but I never had QSL cards for CB radio. I think I was scared. Well, one I probably couldn't afford to make them. I would have drawn them out by hand. I received a couple, but in theory, if you were sending or receiving a card and it was more than, the station was more than 149 and a half miles away, that was sort of like documentation that you had done something bad for the FCC. But obviously you could have QSL cards within your local CB community, and I'm sure that's what most of these were. So this is KHJ, which that would have been a great call to have in Southern California, KHJ being the big Drake Chenault boss radio station. KHJ 7679, and that is out of West Virginia, I guess, somewhere. But there you go. That's courtesy of Crazy Bob and the group over on the really great Facebook site, Antique CB Radio pre-1977. You're listening to the Old Tube Radio Network, and we are waiting for radio number 8. I'm sure I didn't show that picture. Let me pop it into the video screen here. I was talking about earlier, some of you may have had your own QSL cards. I had a poster, actually. I didn't have a card. And my handle was the Canary, because I had a canary in my room that used to sing and could be heard when I had my amplified desk microphone. I think it was a Turner Plus 2. But it wasn't in a QSL card format. I don't think I ever sent one to anybody, but there you go. Hello to KHJ 7679. And here is the picture here at oldtuberadio.net. I'll get up on the video that we were discussing earlier when Phil came on with some information. That is not Phil's radio, but that is the radio that's up on eBay now. And I see what you're talking about, Phil, with that's odd that the dial has the paper overlay. Maybe they did that because the numbers wore off, but I think you also mentioned, let me slide it over here, that it's, oh, I guess I can't. That's just the way the photo is. That it doesn't have, like yours does, the 4 lights on the side. Obviously, there's a story about this somewhere. But it's interesting, again, like we mentioned, that the various versions that popped up, these radios, peaking and tweaking, probably trying to keep up. A lot of manufacturers at that time. It wasn't just 2 or 3 or 4 manufacturers in one radio chassis. There were a lot of things. So a lot of competition to get your CB radio dollars back in the day.
OTR.
The break OTR, go ahead, please.
We'll be here again. Figured I'll both up your numbers a little bit, check in the old train. I actually still work.
All right, Mark, SW50 on the tram. And if you gave me the model number, give it to me again. You've got a bit of an AC note in the audio there tonight. Back to you. Is that a the D201 over? Yeah, I'm sorry. What model is that over? All right, it's got audio. It's got carrier. I was looking at the estimator. Almost sounded like it was controlled carrier, but it definitely does have a heavy-duty AC note in with the audio. Over. That's louder. AC note is there, but that brought the audio up out of the noise. I can definitely hear the item now. Okay, there's kind of a control carrier sound to it, but it definitely has the sound that gives it radio number 8 and our first tram of the evening. Good enough to make the list forever. And we thank you for bringing it by. The break OTR, we are listening. Over. It's going. What is the model again? Over. And the make? Oh, Pierce Simpson. I was in the wrong file cabinet here. See if I got a shot. I've got it in the database. CDB5 from the collection of Paul. Aha. So the reason you mentioned his name, that is an interesting radio. I'm not familiar with that at all. Let me crank it up on the video side here for those Pierce Simpson fans who may be familiar with this CDB. Number 5. It is working. Let's go back to you for a transmission. There you go. I'm having a little problem copying because the audio is down in my noise, but the audio is strong. And I think you said it had a modulation light. I was looking on the case to see where that might be. Also, I was reading a little information. This must be their first radio that they put out for Class D. 1959 to 1961. Original price around $180. 5-channel crystal control transmit and receive, universal transistorized 117 and 12 volt power supply. Does that mean it's a separate supply, or it wasn't built in? 11.2 performance, super het, 1 RF and 245 or 455 kC IF stages. Series noise limiter, adjustable squelch, carbon mic as you mentioned, link and Pi network output, pilot bulb, output indicator. Oh, okay, there it is, right on the top. It says transmit. I thought that was transmit power, like a on-off switch. But that's the transmit power as in RF, over.
Yeah, Roger. I pumped it up a slight bit.
Oh, man, the range boost. Yeah, what a difference. Whew, that is loud now, over.
Yeah, Roger. Yeah, I had to figure out that I had to kind of remember carbon cartridge. And when I didn't have any audio on transmit, no modulation, so I had to kind of figure it out and go, oh yeah, carbon cartridge. Need the little circuit in the cartridge area to get it to have audio out. And in this case, the circuit inside the radio, not the mic. And I had to kind of figure it out. Finally, kind of did. There you go.
You're coming in like a house on fire now. I want to let everyone know again that we didn't hear you before. Pierce Simpson is the radio. That's the one that's shown up on the video if you're at oldtuberadio.net, the kind of blue and white. Very pretty radio. 1959 to 1961. If not their first radio, very close to it. And it's the model CDB5. 5 for the 5 channels. I'm not sure about the CDB. I was trying to look what that might be in the description here, and I'm not sure. 5 crystal controls channels, 117 volt AC, 12 volt DC. The power supply, I didn't quite understand their universal transistorized 117 volt and 12 volt power supply. That's built into the radio, over?
Hey, Roger. There's a transistor on the back. I think just one. Let me see here. Okay. Yeah, transistor on the back and double relay. It's got, I think, a relay that works with the DC. So, it's kind of weird. But anyway, it's got a weird kind of power supply, but anyway, I had to change a few parts here. But it's going. There are 3 that I know of, 3 of these radios around here. This is Paul's. I have one, which was quite helpful in figuring out what's going on with this thing. And then, because mine worked, it had, when I checked some parts, I went, aha. So, anyway, and then I think, what's his name? Over there in Clovis, puts all the pictures on. He's got one.
Mr. Cliff?
No, in Clovis, Rob has one.
Oh, all right. I guess my memory's going. I don't remember checking one of those in. Now we're showing pictures of them. It's a little easier for my weak brain to figure things out, but matching the picture, match the picture to the sound of the radio. But maybe in the early days we had them stop by, and I don't remember. You are running the carbon microphone, right? Because it's got very loud audio, similar, I guess, maybe to a general radio telephone with a carbon microphone, but it sounds loud.
Thank you. Yeah, carbon microphone. Without the helper, it does about 1.5 to about 2.5. And of course that puts me in your noise. But with the helper, it kind of backs a little bit, and the transmit power light doesn't work. I'd have to adjust it internally to get it to work. Without the helper on, that light works.
Interesting. Yeah, might need to get yourself a little cheapo tuner to go in between that and the range boost and make the radio, I guess, the item see the radio a little bit better might help. Sometimes it does work, and it helps, fixes the audio too. Looks like as though the microphonium might be a hardwired item, meaning that carbon microphone forever. Turning it down gives you more output. Well, I was seeing just a bit of forward movement. You're in my noise now, so you're right at the noise level. But when the Harvey range boost is on, I see a little bit of forward movement, but not much. But it is nice and loud. Pierce Simpson CDB5. So we might hear a new item from Paul coming up. Then I take it. Let me see if Paul is still there and if he's copying the standard version. Hello, Paul. Are you hearing Harvey on the Pierce Simpson? Over. All right, I'm going to assume he may have stepped away from the radio, but I think you've got everything peaked and tweaks. Again, it's a little rough copy when it's in the noise, but the audio is nice and loud and doing quite well here on Channel 11.
Okay. I pumped it up again. I'm a KT high, and I don't know if I want to mess with it. Some of the channels don't work. I think it's the crystals, but I think this is the only one he's concerned with. So I'm going to leave it alone. I might try and adjust it, but we'll see. Okay. Anyway, I'll let you go, and I'll see if I can check in some other radios.
That sounds good. Do you know you can safely use that around your neighbors with their old TV antennas because it has a built-in TV eye trap. So if they're watching, Channel 2 or Channel 6, you'll be in good business, even though I don't think there's any Channel 2 or Channel 6 in this area. Thanks, Harvey. The Pierce Simpson CDB5, one of their early Pierce Simpson models, sounding very nice with the range boost and even without it. The old tube radio network, real radios glowing in the dark. It is 10:02, so we'll be wrapping up here in a little bit, but first the jingle singers would like to tell us about the magic that is Saturday evenings on the old tube radio network.
What are the magic numbers?
27.085 megahertz, channel 11.
Are the magic letters?
OTR.
Right here in
Fresno, California.
Radio Magic
Old Tube Radio.
for you.
And we were listening for Radio 10.
45.
Hey, Paul, there you are. I don't know if you heard our transmission of moments ago on the, Harvey was on the Pierce Simpson CDB5, over.
Yeah, I was watching it on the iPad. I shut the radio down and had the iPad on, watching it on that. So I couldn't come back to you right away. Forgot what all the questions was now on it.
Oh, okay. Paul is switching radios, so he will probably be back soon to answer questions you might have. So you were hearing it. You could hear the difference. The audio was good either way. You heard the signal difference as he brought the radio out of the noise. So I'm sure you were pleased with that. Even Sam, SWL48, says Harvey was sounding good in Madera. Well, you know Harvey always sounds good in Madera. Back to you, Paul.
Yeah, definitely he does. Whatever he did, I could hear him then. Before that, I couldn't hear him at all, hardly. I could make it, just barely hear him, but I couldn't make it out. So he had it going right then. And, the secret is, I don't know what he told you, that's my radio.
Yeah, he mentioned that. And then when I brought up the picture, right at the top of the photo, it says, from the collection of SWL45. So I think he was going to do a few more looky-loos and adjustments, perhaps. And then, as I mentioned, we might be hearing it checking in from another location in upcoming episodes.
Hello, Paul. Hey, Harvey. How you doing? The radio sounded good. You did a good job on it. Okay, well, thank you. Anyway, there are a lot of adjustments, and they're a little tricky on this thing. But it works. Okay, anyway, I'll let you go. I'm going to check in one of my other radios, and I'll see if I can tweak this thing and get it a little bit better, and then we'll get it right back to you. Yeah, okay, that sounds good. Well, I'll tell you, you've done an excellent job on it. No diagram or any paper on that thing. Harvey, you do beautiful work. It's amazing how you can figure that stuff out. Thank you very much. You're more than welcome. I got kind of lucky. I finally got the brain working and realized what kind of microphone it had on it. And then I started checking that circuit once I found it. And I went, oh, look at that. Okay. Anyway, I'll let you go. Oh, and by the way, Dennis, there is a Pierce Simpson CD-5, I believe. And I've got one somewhere. It looks different on the front. It's a solid paint job on the front. And I'm not sure how many channels. It might be 5. But it's a CD5 model, I believe. So I'll look it up on the website when I get in. But it's a little different, but I think it's still got the same dumb microphone. Okay, turn it back to Paul and you guys. I'll check one more in, and then I'm done.
All right, very good. Yeah, the CB5, maybe that's the one. I think I saw one on Crazy Bob's pre-1977 Facebook site. You know, Facebook's so hard. Stuff scrolls away unless you save it. But maybe I remember the front end like that. I'll have to go back and check. But the CDB5 sounding good, and it looks like it will be a regular player on the Old Tube Radio Network. If you have any comments, Paul, go ahead. Otherwise, we'll take a check-in from Get Radio 10 from Harvey, over. All right, go ahead, Harvey. You are Radio 10.
Well, I can't be 10 yet. I forgot to turn it on. You gotta give me a minute.
Oh, all right. I thought maybe you were on. I wasn't sure what radio you're on. It's very loud, whatever you're on.
I'll get by him.
Yeah, you be number 10.
All right, I'll be 10. I have spent hours and hours and hours going from grocery store to grocery store looking for milk in a glass bottle. I'm preparing for the big celebration on tomorrow's race?
Contraire. I saw it today, and I forgot. They carry it all the time, and I can tell you where. It's a little more of a drive than you might want, but since it's a chain store, maybe you can look at the one that's closer to you. But yes, there is, I believe it's ROSA, Rosa Farms, and not only do they have milk in the glass bottles, be aware, and maybe you already know this, that you will be paying a $2 deposit on each bottle that you take before you bring one back. And number two, they also have chocolate milk, and it's the good kind as well. Over.
I'm trying to figure out what that means. Are you trying to chime in right now?
He's reminding you to make sure you get close to the microphonium.
Oh, are you serious? Did you get close to the mic?
Ah, that's better.
Ooh, okay. Well, that's hard to do, and actually that's funny. Maybe that'll bring me back in. I wasn't really looking for the milk. I'm just trying to make a reference towards the 8500 small, obviously. But so I have to get really close to this one because my microphone cord is not as long as it used to be, since I can't use my amplified mic for this. Anyways, this is the Robin T123, no Bravo after that, just a straight 123, without amplified mic. This is an unamplified Turner mic. I've got it because my other one, the nose died. But fun radio to use. It's got a magic eye. It's blinking. Happy right now, and it's got significantly less technology compared to the race cars that are going to be on the track tomorrow.
Well, technology can be a good thing. Don't want to get overloaded with technology. We've got a shot of the T123 with the magic eye tube that is winking and blinking when our tube radio operator, Mr. Mike, gets into the microphone. Yes, it helps. It actually helps greatly to get a little bit closer and make that winking eye blink. Your Radio 10, and but you actually can get milk in the glass bottles. Save Mart carries the Rosa Farms, and so there's a plug for Save Mart.
Yeah, I've tried that milk before, and I got to tell you, I can't remember which one you just mentioned, the chocolate or strawberry. You got to try the orange creamsicle. It's actually extremely good.
I didn't know they had such things. I know Nestle's Quick used to have the powder you could make the strawberry stuff, but this is already made. All right, I may pass on that. For those listening, the Robin T123, which you will hear when I unkey, is an 11-tube, 2-transistor radio that will go 12-volt DC if you plug the proper cable into it, and sounds a lot like this. Back to you.
Oh, good. I have not used this on the road for quite some time. I do have the proper cord rigged up for this if I want to go take it on the road. I think I did have an issue with my antenna. I can't remember. I know I was buzzing around town, and something was super not happy. I don't know, I have to tune the antenna or something, but it is a fun radio to use. Earlier I was trying to think if I had a bracket for this thing. Maybe correct me on this one or enlighten me. I believe I have a mobile bracket for my 123B. I don't have one for this one. Do you know offhand, do these 123s, do they come with mobile brackets?
Probably what I would have to end up doing is going to an image search and then seeing if you could find one of the 123s, not the B, but the 123 that actually would show a bracket. Of course, that wouldn't help you to get a bracket, but at least it might give you an idea that you might be able to find one.
Okay, I got it. Well, I would imagine if you had a larger car, this one would be pretty fun to use in there. years and years and years ago, I saw folks with all sorts of crazy things mounted. I think all the cars would have. It's just not going to happen. Anyways, it's fun radio to use. The selling point on this one was the Magic Eye 2. I definitely like it. The audio, I had to do a comparison at some point in time. The receive audio, I think, on this one is really, really good. I don't know if it's the newer speaker that Harvey put in. This one, I think I've nicknamed this radio Stevie. I think a cat may have decided to mark its territory on the speaker when a previous owner owned this guy. So, to make a long story short, the speaker had to be replaced. But this one sounds good and doesn't smell like anything inappropriate.
Well, the speaker makes me sound good. It doesn't do much for you, but you can easily do that by getting a little bit closer, which you have done. And funny you should say a large car. Yeah, most of these were probably made for the metal dashboards or the large car. And if you go back to 1969 or 1970, a small car was a Ford Falcon. You take a four-door Ford Falcon from 1969 and put it next to any car today, and the Falcon is now a large car. So every car was a large car.
No comment on that. I got to ask really quick, and then I'm sorry, I know I'm getting boring here, and I'm sure Harvey's also going with this radio. Can you tell me again what years this radio had come out?
Yeah, I could do that. I'm going to say since the 23B was produced from 1972 to 76 and was replaced because it wasn't a 23-channel radio, but it was using the Panasonic chassis, this radio would be 1972 and before, but I don't know the original start date.
Okay, that's interesting. I had my eye on a 71 Volkswagen Fastback, and I think that would be relatively, I think it would be easy to get in there. So this radio could have been sold in 71.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, then I'm just going to tell my wife that to match the radio, I need to go right now and get this 71 Volkswagen Fastback. Thank you, and I'm sure I can use you as a reference on that one, I'm sure.
I think so. The Fastback, was that still... I guess they were all rear engines, right? So you'd still have to put it in the front of the car to take it home.
Like a Volkswagen Squareback, except that it slopes rear end. You had a front and rear trunk. These guys have the pancake engine. So unlike the upright suitcase engine, or the upright motors, the Beetles, there's a lot of room in those guys. 4 seats, 2 trunks, and I think, you got to YouTube the Volkswagen Fastback version stuff often. I think 34 miles per gallon.
And I think the big thing was, at least for the Central Valley here, would be that they're air-cooled.
Yeah, air-cooled, and so was the passenger compartment, which was why I'm sure not a lot of them relatively were sold.
All right, well, I agree with you. I think that it would look nice in there, and it's a big metal beast. You shouldn't have any problems connecting an antenna to it somewhere. There you go. There's a Volkswagen Fastback. oldtuberadio.net, or one of the many. Let me pop it up. I may on the screen here. I'm not sure if I've got exact what you're thinking of, but if I recall, I never owned a Volkswagen. I don't know if I had any friends. You sure saw a lot of them around, the Beetles and stuff. That was the car for high school and college kids because it was cheap and easy to run. All right, I know Harvey is waiting. He's going to be Radio 11. But that radio and that car, I think, go together.
Very good, Chair.
And we'll take that. Harvey, we will get to you. So I hope you're comfortable in the shack out there. Thank you, Mike. Listen in as we show old cars and old radios and take the braking station for an SWL check-in. Go ahead.
Hey, thanks, Dennis. 70 checking in. I wasn't sure if you guys would still be on, but there you are. So check in, please. Thanks.
Yeah, it's always a good bet to at least try and turn on Channel 11 even after the 10 o'clock hour. See if we're waxing poetic. Oh, sorry about that on the video. And it's still going at 18 after. And Harvey is just wondering if we forgot about him. We haven't. Thanks, Mark. We'll get checked. You are checked in, and I should say hello, 20.
Number 20 here. No, you never forget. Okay, the Browning Golden Beagle from Browning Laboratories with the custom D104 microphone. 23 channels, no rating. Well, unless you want 40. Anyway, you know what it is. There are many like it, but this one is mine. Okay, take it easy. We will catch you next week. I'm going to go on and relax for a little bit. Take care. Catch you next week.
We should be doing this next week. I have yet another radio station event happening, but I believe it ends at 4 p.m. or 4 or 5 p.m., so we should have everything broken down. Don't say broken down. Everything moved and put back where it's supposed to go. And I should be able to be here in the air chair. Radio 11, the Browning Golden Eagle, the R68, T68. That is just super loud, super nice audio. If anybody is wondering what classic Browning audio sounds like or should sound like, you just heard it. Thanks, Harvey. Any other stations wanting to check in, make a comment or whatever before we sign out for the night? A lot of stations still listening in into the wee hours of Sunday morning. New Jersey, Maryland, stations in California, of course. Somerville, South Carolina is still hanging in there, as well as Dallas, Georgia, where we got to ring the bell tonight. New York, Virginia, Iowa, Utah. We're still listening out there, 44. X4000 even. So any of other stations, and even the jingle singers are saying they would like to go home too, but I'm going to have them do one more time here before we move out.
You're tuned to
OTR, Channel 11,
right here in
Fresno, California.
Stay with us
Old Tube Radio.
and be modern.
Counting and amounting. Well, I guess we will tie the ribbons on it. I heard that phrase when I used to frequent the 75-meter Society for the Promotion of Amplitude Modulation, the SPAM group, which I think they call themselves something different now, like AMI, AM International. But there was a station I always used to say that when he was signing off, we're going to tie the ribbons on the thing. And then somebody came on years later and said, I really hate when you say that. So my apologies if there's anybody who really hates that. What is it, colloquialism? I don't know, but we're tying the ribbons on it or taking them off. We're doing something. We're signing out of here at 10:22 on the Old Tube Radio Network. SWL-wise tonight, we had 11 on page 1, 11 on page 2, 12 on page 3, Hooray for page 4, 15 check-ins. That was a total of 49. We are in just ending week 5. 3 more to go on this check-in roster. We had 11 radios tonight, which is almost double what we had last week on this holiday weekend. So hopefully everybody is having a good time with their holiday endeavors, honoring our veterans for Memorial Day. Most heard radio, the general radio telephone. No, I take that back. The Brown. Thanks to our last check-in, the Brownings, the Golden Eagles tonight. Checking with 3. I'll read off the list here, so you can see what radios checked in tonight. E.F. Johnson Messenger, the Viking Messenger, was radio number 1, and that was from Mr. Green Arrow, SWL 135. Good to hear Cliff on tonight. Also, General Radio Telephone Super MC12. That was the before and after version. It was our original Radio 2. If you're listening to the archives, you will hear the first version at 8:50, and then 15 or 20 minutes later, Paul comes back with the fix, and you hear how it should sound. So thanks, Paul, for coming back and giving us the Super MC12. Maybe the first one that checked in was just the MC12. Radio 3 with the General Radio Telephone MC5. Radio 4, and that was from Jerry, by the way, SWL 25 on the MC5 with the tone alert. Radio number 4, the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB from SWL 25, Jerry. Paul Falcon on the Demco satellite base station, wanted to get it in another time here in 2018. Nice, mellow audio. Hope you will be able to hear that on the archives, Paul. It does a good job. Cover it up and treat it well. We want to hear it again. Radio number 6 was Paul on his Polytronics Polycom N. That is the 8-channel version. There is also a 4-channel version of that radio. At 9:37, Radio 7 was the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB. Monkey's uncle with that one. Checking in from up there on the hill. Thanks, Mark. Also his Tram D201, which wasn't faring as well, but it did key up and give us some audio. I know it can sound better than that because I've heard it before. Radio number 8. Radio number 9, Harvey on the Pierce Simpson CDB, Charlie Delta Bravo number 5, with some peaking and tweaking and modifications, and that radio will be heading back up to Paul, so we should hear more of that in future episodes of the Old Tube Radio Network. The Robin T123 with the Magic Eye from Mike, Radio 10. Does a good job with the non-amplified mic. You just got to stay into it a little bit. And then the radio that needs no explanation, the Browning Golden Beagle, right? The R68 T68. Thanks, Harvey, for that. 11 radios tonight, 49 SWLs. And stay safe out there. Honor our veterans as you are doing, and we will be back next Saturday, the Old Tube Radio Network. Also, thanks to SearchLawrence.com and Frodex for keeping the Nixie tubes running, and thanks to all of you, whether you're on the digital side at oldtuberadio.net, on the video side at the Google YouTube, or right here on the RF side, whether it's Rob in Colorado DXing us, or Ray in Utah DXing us, or right here in Central California, the Old Tube Radio Network. We will be back. We like those glow-in-the-dark radios. Catch you next time, 73.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for your work.
Ovaltine time.
I think so. And thanks, everybody. We'll have the archives up in a few minutes. Good night on the video. We'll catch you next time, the Old Tube Radio Network.